no small matter. Now, about those to whom I promise salvation, they will derive great benefit, material as well as spiritual. But what if they themselves break my orders and leave? For instance, how many of the boys to whom I gave my promise broke their own promises of salvation who stayed? Only one person survived out of so many who departed, and I will see to that when I speak. Besides, what have I to do with these institutions, the school, the dispensary, hospital, and dharmashala? These facilities serve me as a means of vacating the wealth of those to whom I wanted to give a tremendous spiritual push, and secondly, as a means of service for those whom I selected and entrusted with certain duties. Since these objectives are now finished, the wealth being exhausted, and at the same time the benefit of service being derived by many, and over and above my mandali, I thought it no longer necessary to prolong the working of these institutions of charity and service. What have I to do with worldly wealth and riches, which to me are nothing, from those whose clutches I do my utmost to rescue people? How do you expect me to give riches to those who come to me with such desires? How can I allow them to come within the firm clutches of Maya, for which it is my duty to save them? As you clearly observe and find, I would rather deprive our real bhaktas, lovers, and those others desirous of some spiritual advancement of all their worldly wealth, power, and position, and reduce them to the position of beggars to get them more firmly within my grasp. Rustam asked, that is all true, but what will the world say about you and your actions for closing everything down so abruptly and leaving all in the lurch, most particularly the destitutes and the needy, whose hopes rest on you and your support? Baba concluded in reply, let the world say what it will. What do people of the world know of the spiritual working that is done by perfect masters for the betterment of all? No sooner will some great miracles be performed than the whole world will go mad and be in an uproar. Then the idea of judging my workings by the continuance and closing of these charitable institutions will die into insignificance. People will only look to and think of the miracles and the power that can perform them. That time will come. In short, the greatest duty of the avatar is first of all to prepare his circle members. That's an important point. The first duty of the avatar is to prepare his circle members and give these people realization. I cannot delay this work. I must make sure the preparedness of my inner circle is complete. Then, secondly, I must give some spiritual push to others outside the circle. And thirdly, I must grant some material advantage to others who prove deserving of my help. At times, Baba would test the mandali's understanding by giving them riddles to solve. On October 26th, Baba asked the men to solve 4 riddles. The men were given 2 days to solve them, and a prize of sweet jabli and milk was offered for the correct answers. The riddles were, who says one thing and does another? If 3 go, 1 comes. If 4 die, 1 is afraid. 2 are false, 1 is real. When Baba gathered the mandali after 2 days, no one could solve the riddles to his satisfaction, so he explained the answers. One who says one thing and does another is a hypocrite. If the three go and one comes, it means that if lust, greed, and anger are burned up, then God comes. If four die, one is afraid. It means that if lust, greed, anger, and hope die, Maya is afraid. If two are false, one is real. It means that duality is false. The state of unity is real.
You know, on that one that said, Maya is afraid, it added lust, greed, anger, and hope. And when I think about it, so in other words, when you have hope for your existence in the world, Maya is happy because it's got you still under its guise, its power. But if you even give up hope and saying it is yours, then Maya wants to grab you and say, come on, and be ambitious, seek something, get money, power, come on, do it. And if you say, no, I surrender, but surrender with real cognizance, not surrender as an insane person or something, or as a person, but surrender with true. So that is amazing to hear that.
Maya, you
hope.
mean the hope?
No, hope. Maya is totally at a loss.
This is shaitan. Maya is shaitan.
Yeah, but in other words, if you give up lust, greed, anger, and hope,
Maya comes.
then it says Maya is left hung out to dry.
Is afraid. Maya is afraid.
Yeah. Well, Bobby used to say, be hopeless and be helpless.
Right.
And a lot of times people will hear that and say, oh no, I don't want to be that way. And I guess this is really to the nitty-gritty, the real true seeker of the mandali. I mean, I don't know how many of us people can live like that.
You should be nothing and everything. If you give everything up, and you will be everything.
But
nothing and everything. You have nothing.
Fred, this is a little interesting because several years ago, we at the old center we had a little circle and talking about something, and it was Georgianne Tarbox who pointed out that hope. I think the discussion was around desire, and that Georgianne said that hope is a form of desire, and we all, because we think we have to hope. Hope is something you're supposed to have, almost like faith. And so in discussing it and thinking about it, the conclusion was come to that hope is a desire. You desire something, right? And that's what this is.
Right, but the thing is, it shows though what a level of advancement a soul must have if they can actually do that, to give up totally. I mean, it's a really advanced stage. But it really is, it's another gem though tonight.
Yeah, because one never thinks of Maya is afraid.
Maya is afraid.
Maya is afraid. What does that mean? Maya is afraid.
Maya is afraid because
but you interpreted that.
Yeah, I interpreted it in my own way. That Maya is saying, "I'm losing this person. I can't grab them anymore." They've turned their back on me. I think if you studied other mysticism or metaphysics, there's probably a terminology for that too. There is in Islam. There's a certain feeling for turning your back.
Right.
On
what's the devil's name in this?
Shaitan.
Iblis?
Shaitan and Iblis together. Shaitan and Iblis.
Shaitan?
And they call him Iblis.
Iblis and Shaitan. Same meaning.
I heard there was a wine. No, I'm just kidding.
Shablis.
Oh, Shablis.
But no, what happens is that Maya has, it's like the Bible writes in discourses, Maya has to be considered as being infinite just as God is considered infinite, because you can't reduce it. That's right. So what you got these two infinite forces vying for your soul. That's what's happening.
That's it. No, that's it. That's a very good description.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
What was that?
No, Maya is vying for your soul just as much as God is. And Maya, when you give up that aspect of hope for the illusion, working and striving, he is scared.
That's his last.
Because he says, "Oh no, I'm losing."
Because hope is the last thing you can give up. Think
Exactly.
About it.
That's it.
When you give up hope, how
Exactly. Wow.
Very difficult. You said it. You either got to be highly advanced or pretty doggone stupid. No betwixt or between.
But the funny thing about it though, even Maya emanates from God. It's the shadow of God. So its essence. In other words, God is this huge being. If you can give an example, Maya is his shadow. We're living in his shadow, believing this is real, but his reality is here. But even the Maya is God. So even though in the game it's a division, at the same time it's still him.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Well, if anyone were reading the book, just reading the book, or even if we read it, until you kind of explained it or opened it up a little, we didn't understand Maya is afraid. We didn't understand that, did we?
Well, I surmise that's what it meant. And Kennedy, I think, in his latest statement he made here was just perfect. I think that's what it is exactly.
What did you say?
Kennedy.
What was your
That Maya
statement?
is the counterpart of
Satan?
Right.
Yeah. Say what you think.
The counterpart of God. The counterpart of Meherabad is what I said.
You did?
In other words, Maya is a force that vies for you.
Yeah, that's competing for you.
It's competing for you just as much as the reality or God is competing for you. They both want you. But even though, the truth of it all though, Maya still is the shadow of God. So he's not God, he's the shadow of God. The shadow which is the creation. So.
Okay, now, out of a possible score of 100, they left out the up. Baba gave Daki, how do you say that?
Dahaki.
Dahaki. Out of possible score of 100, Baba gave Dahaki a score of 10, and Rustam 7. He then asked them to solve this mathematical riddle. 16 equal 100 minus 0.
Equals 0. Yeah.
16 minus 100 equals 0.
Oh, well, that's abstract. What does it mean?
Again, no one could guess its answer, and Baba explained. If so, 100 in the Hindi language, in parentheses, is taken from Sola, 16, La is left. If so, 100 in the Hindi language, so,
and La means 16.
Is taken from Sola,
Oh, I see.
16, La is left.
Oh, I see.
Which, according to the Muslims, means nothing or 0.
La.
Allah.
La, L-A.
La ilaha illallah. La is nothing. Right.
La is nothing.
Yes, I want to tell la, but I said maybe not. I was.
No, La.
La does mean no, nothing.
Like
nothing.
la.
Yeah, Kar.
I'll never ever live that down. I was trying to say the 100. I was trying to say the 101 names of God in what?
I remember.
What language is that?
Zoroastrian.
Zoroaster. at
But he didn't go to
Baba's birthday
God.
celebration, Dr. Mohammed was supposed to read, and he was late. So, and I go,
On the stage.
I got it.
God. I laughed. She didn't get that.
What did he do?
God. You were busy with the dance.
He was saying the names of God. He got so rich that
So, in other words, my pronunciation,
God. Like a skill show.
my pronunciation was so off.
You couldn't.
But I was trying to do it in the language that Baba, he gave it in English, which was read by someone else. And I was reading the English version, and then I'd read the Zoroastrian, and I was butchering the pronunciation. So Kathy is in the audience, hearing me butchering the pronunciation, and she couldn't help.
On the stage.
She couldn't contain herself. And she started
And
Shireen started.
Because she knows the language.
Exactly. But you see, I'm reading it though in rehearsal. I read it, and I thought that's the correct pronunciation. It says, I'm confident. And so I'm going through this, I gotta go. And so
I didn't know that language. Only she didn't know.
And it's so funny.
I didn't know. Yeah,
But you know what's so funny? I heard you, and I almost lost my composure.
Yeah, you did. You did.
I heard I almost started breaking laughing up because I knew
Where was this
at
performance?
the Occidental chapel, the chapel at the Occidental College for Baba's 100th birthday.
Oh, for Baba's
100th birthday. I was hoping that Dr. Arjang would have been there because he was to read it and he had the correct pronunciation. So, but it was fun.
When is Baba's birthday? Maybe I am in India at that time. I don't know.
February 25th.
Yeah, February 25th.
Dismantling the buildings at Lower Meherabad began on October 26th under the supervision of Chanji's brother, Naoroji, who was an engineer. The dharmashala, Upasani Sarai, was the first structure to be taken down, and it was done in one day. The demolition seemingly disturbed Baba, and that night he was in a bad mood. Kaka Shahani did not understand certain hand signs of Baba's, which upset Baba. Later, Baba pushed Shahani, and he fell down, striking his head on a stone. He was then directed to go home. Now, what was that about? Should I read that again? All right, the demolition seemingly disturbed Baba, and that night he was in a bad mood. Kaka Shahani did not understand certain hand signs of Baba's, which upset Baba. Later, Baba pushed Shahani, and he fell down, striking his head on a stone. He was then directed to go home. The men mandali were kept busy doing the hard work of tearing down the buildings from 5 in the morning till late in the evening every day, and were naturally tired. A report came to Baba that the men were found sleeping before the appointed time of 9 p.m. Baba called the mandali and several admitted their mistake. Baba, however, was not satisfied and issued special orders that from the next day the mandali should go to bed at 11 p.m. and get up at 5 a.m. Those who wish to stay may stay, or else they should go away. Now I don't care, Within the next 2 days, the hospital, its adjoining sheds, and the Hazrat Babajan school were demolished. The students were taught near the hospital premises. The boys were overcrowded in the mess quarters, and Arjun was asked to send away the smaller boys to eliminate the congestion. The number of school children gradually diminished, and only a few were left. Meanwhile, in addition to his other responsibilities, Rustam was assigned the duty of teaching the 3rd and 4th grades, as 4 of the teachers, Oikwad, Pathak, Ahar Girdar, and Shindi, had left. Only the 3 teachers, Dahaki, Rajup, and Mehendarji, were willing to work without wages and remained at Meherabad. On November 2nd, the work of dismantling Sai Darbar began, and it was completed the following day. As the buildings at Meherabad were being torn down, Baba indicated to carry on as usual with the teaching at the school, though there were only a few students. On November 4th, Baba permitted the mandali to take rice and dal every other day for dinner instead of bhakri and tea. This added to Bapu's burden, as he had to cook rice and dal twice a day instead of once. The problem of getting additional help for the kitchen staff was discussed. Sailor complained about his difficulties and asked for an additional man to help him. Several Hindus were approached to volunteer for this work, but not one did so. Baba explained that though he was reluctant, he would be compelled to put a non-Brahmin on this duty, and no objections from the Hindus would be allowed. Still, no one responded. In the end, Brahmin was appointed by Baba to help Bapu in drawing water from the well for cooking. At night, a deputation from the Brahmin mandali. At night, a deputation from the Brahmin mandali was handed to Baba and explained that they personally had no serious objection to a non-Brahmin handling their water. For the master's sake, however, so as not to give cause for outsiders to speak ill of him, they were maintaining the traditional customs of their religion. In response to this, Baba sarcastically replied, "You can be anxious about me when I make you all judges. Not now." Sarcastically. That's interesting, isn't it? I don't quite comprehend it. Baba sarcastically replied, "You can be anxious about me when I make you all judges. Not now." Do you get that?
Does anybody get that?
I don't get that.
You can be conscious about me when I make you all judges.
Yeah, do you get that? Then you could be
Baba,
I mean, do you, I don't...
I should go back and read this. However, so as not...
Understand me when you are a judge in a position of judge.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But I was thinking more in terms of, remember back in the God Man when he talks about, you put the guys around him, and they were talking about him expending his silence, and he was saying to them that the voice of intuition is the voice of my silence. Remember that story? That's what they're saying right there too. In other words, through the use of intuition, you learn to judge by it. But that's, again, you're talking knowledge is right there. You got to understand that in Meherabad philosophy, what actually happens is that the lower forms of knowledge are overcome by the higher forms of knowledge. So knowledge replaces knowledge. This is what lives reincarnation is all about. At a certain point in time, he lets us become that judge, but it's our intuition that takes us to that next level. But see, there's a cumulative thing happening here. We can read one paragraph here, but it's related to God speaks, it's related to God, stay with God. All of those texts it all feeds right back into those are little streams coming back into the main river, which is probably God speaks. This is a stream for that same tributary. This is a tributary. Francis Barbazan is a tributary. So when you're reading one, you got to remember what else is contributing to that.
Well, I think we need to go back.
Things that's happening here. It's not just one thing. That's my point. That's what I'm getting at.
I think we need to go back to what. At night, a deputation from the Brahmin mandali was handed to Baba and explained that they personally had no serious objection to a non-Brahmin handling their water, because he needed help in the kitchen, and he asked 3 Brahmins if they would volunteer, and he asked the Brahmins to volunteer, and none of them volunteered. None of the Brahmins volunteered to help him. So, for the master's sake, however, so as not to give cause for outsiders to speak ill of him, they were maintaining the traditional customs of their religion. In response to this, Baba sarcastically replied, "You can be anxious about me when I make you all judges, not now." I think it's something pertaining to this specific thing. This isn't a general thing, it's a specific
What
thing.
did you say?
I think Baba was pointing to them that, the level you are, you cannot, how can you judge me?
Right.
What I'm doing, what is good or bad
That's it.
for you.
That's it, yeah.
You can't judge me when you are judging.
That's
So
it.
Yeah,
when you get to
that-
the higher level
That's it.
of
That's
judgment,
Very,
you
yeah,
can-
just a,
Good,
yeah,
I
right,
like that, yeah.
right,
That's
right. I think that's
pertaining
yeah,
to this.
right. Baba then directed that since they were so devout and pious, they should get up at 4 o'clock and perform his arti. He canceled games and sports activities for them, declaring, "So now you all be like yogis, awake early in the morning and perform my arti. I myself will sit in front of you so that you will be doing it in front of me, not my photograph." By this time it was 10 at night, but Baba insisted that they sing his arti, which they did. The Diwali holidays were scheduled for November 5th and 6th. Munshi Rahim arrived with the latest news of Bombay on the morning of the 5th. In the afternoon, sweets were distributed to the mandali and boys in the makan, and a special program was held for the children. To conclude the first day of celebration, there were fireworks in the school compound. The festivities continued the next day. Late at night, 3 or 4 of the Hindu mandali complained to Baba that about the early morning arti. Baba was upset by their attitude and directed them to dispense with the arti, but to awaken at 4 o'clock anyway and observe 2 hours of absolute silence. He was giving the Brahmins a bad time, wasn't he? Then Baba decided to apply this new schedule to all mandali. They were instructed to retire at 9 and rise at 4. And anyone found dozing in the morning would be drenched with cold water. No one was to take darshan, including outsiders, otherwise Baba would beat himself. At 4 the next morning, all were awakened by Syed Sahib loudly ringing the bell. The next 2 hours were passed in uninspiring silence. The majority of the mandali stayed inside the makan, freezing. It looked like a conclave of deaf and dumb, and men communicating through crude signs in the semi-darkness. All were sitting on their beds with blankets wrapped around them. Chanti later told Baba, "We looked like the day of judgment when the dead resurrect." Their 2-hour naun, how do you say that? Naun?
Noon. No?
N-A-U-N.
No.
How do you say that?
No.
N-A-U-N.
Naun.
The 2-hour naun, it means silence, was broken at 6. with shouts of Shri Avatar Shri Meher Baba Ki Jai. And the work began as usual a half hour later. The building materials were divided into lots to be sold at a public auction the next day. From November 7th, Baba went on a fast, taking only water and nothing else. All goods and materials at Meherabad were sold at an auction arranged by Adi's father, Khan Sahib. How do you say that?
Khan Sahib.
Sahib.
Khan Sahib. The next day, handbills were circulated in Ahmednagar advertising the auction. As the sale was being held, Baba was seated in the hospital building, and as soon as it was over, he entered the maqam. Khan Sahib, is that right?
Khan Sahib.
Khan Sahib also participated in the bidding and bought many of the items offered himself. He was initially surprised and then rather amused to find that among the items for sale were many things from his own household. That's Adi's father.
Right.
From time to time, Gulmai would send things to be used at Meherabad without telling her husband. And now he found himself buying back his own property. Inside the maqam, Baba warned Dahaki to hold fast to his feet until the end, and urged him to remain in Meherabad until he broke his silence. Inside maqam, Baba warned Dahaki to hold fast to his own feet. Was it his own feet?
No, Baba's feet.
Okay. Inside the maqam, Baba warned Dahaki to hold fast to his feet until the end, and urged him to remain in Meherabad until he broke his silence. Although the taking of Baba's darshan had been stopped for some time, people continued to flock to Meherabad. On November 9th, a crowd formed, and Baba had permitted them to take darshan. Noticing Pandava whispering in Kaka Sahani's ear, Baba asked him what he had said. Pandava replied, "I was saying that I wonder why the touching of your feet by outsiders is allowed, but it is forbidden to us." Baba jokingly replied, "You want to touch my feet? All right, let's flip a coin. Heads you win, tails you lose." Pandava hesitated, but Dahaki, Mohan Shahani, and his father urged him to take the chance. The coin was tossed, and it was heads. With words of praise to the master, each one bowed and kissed Baba's feet.
Oh. So sweet.
But he did it with a game.
Yes.
He did it with a little game.
Right, sure.
That day, another farmer came to Baba, praying to him to bring rain. Baba advised him, "Don't worry, there will be plenty of rain. What is needed is to turn the key. It will happen as you wish." No sooner had Baba finished writing this down than it started raining. The iron sheet roof of the maqam had been taken down and sold, replaced by a bamboo matting, and now water poured into the building. Although it was a problem for the mandali to find a dry place to sleep that night, the rain was a blessing to the farmers, for their crops were saved. On November 10th, Baba broached the topic of going to Bombay and staying until February, leaving Meherabad in Rustam's charge. The names of those to accompany Baba were taken down. Later that evening, Baba discussed certain matters with Mohan Shahani and Dahaki. During Baba's explanations, Mohan who often loved to argue about philosophy with Baba, asked about depending on oneself to attain God. Baba replied, "In the world, everyone has to depend on each other for one thing or another. So much so that even to breathe we have to depend on the powers of nature. The things that you consider great and essential for spiritual progress seem harmful to the masters and are not a sign of progress but of regression. For this purpose we keep you in the dark about such matters and never pay attention to them. In such circumstances the best thing is to be dependent upon the Master. He is the only one who is independent of each and everything. Is that clear to everyone?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Maybe that's a point where we should end our meeting tonight.
I'm not quite clear on that. Later that evening during Baba's Mohan, who often loved to argue about philosophy with Baba, asked about depending on oneself to attain God. Baba replied, in the world, everyone has to depend on each other for one thing or another, so much so that even to breathe we have to depend on the powers of nature. The things that you consider great and essential for spiritual progress seem harmful to the masters and are not a sign of progress, but of regression. For this purpose we keep you in the dark about such matters and never pay attention to them. In such circumstances the best thing is to be dependent upon the Master. He is the only one who is independent of each and everything. I still am not quite clear.
Well, I think it's basically
Thank you.
saying that everything in the world, things of the world are basically Maya. They're illusion. They're governed by Maya. So we consider things in the world important as far as position, money, health, and so forth, and we emphasize that as a need, and we sometimes even consider improvement in those aspects as being a spiritual gift. So when we improve in our health or position or family matters, we consider, oh God, thank you.
Thank you for the blessing.
Exactly, and you consider it almost in a spiritual vein, while the masters look upon it as with disdain almost. Oh God, they're wanting things in regards to what they don't understand, and so they almost don't have time for that. I mean, in their minds, it's almost like a nuisance to them when people want that. I mean, that's what I decipher out of that.
But the question that was it Mohan?
Yeah.
The question that Mohan asked, what about depending on
Jai
yourself?
Baba, thank you.
Okay. Jai Baba.
Thanks a lot, Maynard. It was great to have you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
What about what did it say there? What was what was the question that Mohan asked? At the bottom of the page.
Who often love to argue about philosophy, asked about depending on oneself to attain God. In other words, he was basically saying that, what he was saying, can I find God through my own efforts? And basically, it's almost reiterating what I said earlier. Your own efforts are colored by your consciousness of what you consider as being spiritual or advancement, but yet in the eyes of the God or Master, they aren't. He knows what to put you through. He may put you through intense suffering that would drive most people, to drive them almost to die. But he knows when to give you and when to take from you, whereas we don't know that. It's like we're infants, we're children trying to crawl through the maze without guidance, and we're caught in Maya. In other words, Maya first of all wouldn't let us go. You see what I'm saying? If you're trying to, Maya may cleverly even guide you to think that you're on the road, thinking that you're a spiritual leader or teacher or advanced yogi or something, knowing that the goal is not going to be achieved that way, even though you may have somewhat...
you can get a certain distance.
Exactly, but you're not going to get the pearl until you have a master. The master then can take you and say, yes, you were in Maya, I'm going to take you out of Maya. You were still dealing with Maya. Well, even look at, Baba says 5th and 6th plane souls are still caught by the mental impressions and desire impressions, which are part of Maya. So they've got to still be pulled up. Look at his work with the mad, the musts. Those were 5th, 6th, 4th plane station saints that he gave them a push because no one else could. Because they're caught in Maya, they're believing it's real, and they're believing the message Maya is giving them as being, yes, you're doing good, you're on the right track, you're spiritual, you're doing, you know what I mean? Because Baba even said, I think several times in the discourses, that there's two things that God can actually be, the ego can actually grab hold of spiritual things and claim that you're really doing well spiritually, and make you feel that you're. Testing 1, 2, 3, Baba. Avta Meher Baba ki jai. Avta Meher Baba ki jai. Testing. Jai Baba, everybody. This is the Lord Meher night, Monday. And the date is Monday, December the 8th, 1997. In the Catholic faith, this is the Immaculate Conception date, December 8th. It's a holy day of obligation. In other words, Catholics are obligated to go to Mass. I remember it because I was a Catholic altar boy.
Oh.
And we used to have a special Mass on this day. We're reading from the biography of the Avatar of the Age, Meher Baba, Volume 3, the period 1925 to 1929. Of course, Lord Meher is the epic story of Meher Baba's life by Balkal Churi. And we're on page 872. Baba was saying to his disciples, in the world everyone has to depend on each other for one thing or another, so much so that even to breathe we have to depend on the powers of nature. The things that you consider great and essential for spiritual progress seem harmful to the masters and are not a sign of progress but of regression. For this purpose we keep you in the dark about such matters and never pay attention to them. In such circumstances, the best thing to do is be dependent upon the Master. He is the only one who is independent of each and everything. In commemoration of the first anniversary of the Duni, the fire was lighted at 7 in the evening. The Gujarati Arti, composed by Baba, was sung, and soon after it rained heavily, as it had done the previous year when the Duni was first lighted. Again, the mandali's makan became flooded, and Baba told them to shift to the mess quarters, which had been recently used as the hospital. Baba stood by the door to make sure that no one entered the building with muddy feet, as classes for the children were still being held there. Baba allotted spaces to each of the mandali for their bedding rolls and belongings, then distributed milk tea and sweetmeats to them and the students. Afterward, Baba went to the post office building and met with the women for a while, then retired to his seat under the neem tree. On November 11, 1926, the decision was made to move to Bombay, and the list of those going with Baba and those remaining behind in Meherabad was finalized. Circulars were prepared and sent to those concerned. Dissatisfaction prevailed among some of the mandali, and on Baba's inquiry, a few expressed their desire to go with him, while others left the choice to him. Those who wanted to go with Baba were added to the Bombay list, and Baba advised those remaining to go on discharging their duties as assigned with full faith that he was always with them. A meeting with the mandali was held in the evening, which Mother Shireen, Gulmai, and Suna attended. Explaining why he was moving to Bombay, Baba stated, I have been feeling tired for a long time now, staying in one place and observing silence. I will stay on the hill for 3 or 4 days, and afterward will decide about going to Bombay. But one thing is certain, I won't leave Meherabad before November 20th. On November 13th, Baba went up to Meherabad Hill at 9:15 p.m. to begin his third stay in the tank room. A notice was posted on the board informing the community that he would be on the hill for the next 4 to 5 days and would be leaving for Bombay on November 28th. Chandji was sent to Bombay to make the necessary arrangements. The following day, Baba did not come down to Lower Meherabad, but the next morning he suddenly showed up at 11 o'clock and found Bairamji and Boman quarreling. Baba pacified them, though he was disturbed to find them fighting in his absence. Frustrated, Baba declared, "From today, Sakya, one of the Mahars, will serve food to all, and all must eat it without harboring any thought of caste or community. Those who don't like it should leave Meherabad." Thus, on the pretext of being annoyed with Bairamji and Boman, Baba administered the final touches to his work of eradicating all prejudicial differences of caste between his mandali. Baba's order was a shock to the Hindu mandali, and a meeting was called in the afternoon to review this new instruction. The Hindus were not happy at the prospect of being served by a low-caste person, but inwardly all were prepared to carry out Baba's order. Only the teacher, Kisan, openly objected, but by dinner time he also agreed to abide by Baba's wish. Baba returned up the hill at 8:30. Awareness and understanding finally came to the Hindu mandali, as it dawned on them that to carry out the master's orders to play games, sweep the floors, watch movies, clean the toilets, to do whatever he wished, was far superior to the highest religious rituals and ceremonies.
Wow.
And that goes really, I mean, in today's present society, I could just see these, these great evangelists, categorizing, what's important and what isn't. You've seen the Channel 40.
No, I have not seen channel, but yeah, I see.
Well, it's a 24-hour Christian station.
Ah,
And they're extremely evangelical, Pentecostal. They're extremely, biased, to say the least.
Secular.
Very secular. I mean, if you're not a Christian or believe in Christ or Jesus, you're basically lost. That's basically what they say. They have very little openness or compassion for other religions.
yeah, but if you believe in Christ and follow Meher, then you are not lost.
Awareness and understanding finally came to the Hindu mandali, as it dawned on them that to carry out the master's orders to play games, sweep the floors, watch movies, clean the toilets, to do whatever he wished was far superior to the highest religious rituals and ceremonies. They realized that except for the actions done according to his orders, everything else was a result of their sanskar binding. The Mahars were now allowed to draw water out of the well, a point which previously had been particularly offensive to them and was the chief cause of their former opposition. For lower caste people to use the same well as Brahmins was something unheard of in India at the time. Although this work of the masters was on a relatively small scale, the repercussions of the inner work that he accomplished at Meherabad in these early years were felt all over India. Within a short time, protests began throughout the country denouncing the ostracism of the lower classes.
He renounced it.
It's interesting.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if you heard what happened last week in, I can't think of the state in India, but there was a great rebellion of the lowest caste people against their bosses.
I vaguely heard something about that.
the bosses sent in machine gun gangs that went into the village of the lower caste and massacred children, women, and men. I don't know, it was 50 to 100 people were killed.
It seems like it started with some movie premiere, and they threw a bomb at some guy.
Well, there's been many uprisings in the last couple years because the lower caste people have been privy to watching TV by some little farmer buys a television and puts a satellite dish right up on his mud hut. You'll see, and all the farmers and all the poor people, lower caste people, crowd in and watch Western shows from BBC. They see fashions, they see opportunity, they see these people out in the outer world getting ahead, and they're hearing stories about how important it is to advance and educate yourself. And they're literate, but they have enough common sense to see this, and they're saying, wait a minute, I'm being paid. Some of these people make equivalent of $70 a year.
Ooh.
A year. You follow me? And so the point of it is, what I'm trying to say to you is that they are uprising, and so their bosses know that this could be the end of them. Their bosses make the money off of them. They use this cheap labor on repairing roads or doing this work or whatever. You'll see people in India breaking stone, carrying stuff on their heads, women and children. And they're paid mere like a rupee, which is like, 10 cents a day or something. You see, and the point of it is, what I'm trying to say is the fact that they're uprising these people. So these bosses are going to lose. The bosses are making the money from whoever is paying and putting it in their pockets.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, but in America, see, suppose you are a manager at a certain company, say big large company, say BBC. Now there are 20 people working under you, right? Your job is a manager, and you really don't do what they do.
Right.
So you do make money because you have a job as a manager. So there's a boss above you. He doesn't do what those guys do.
No.
But he makes money. When he thinks that that guy makes money because of me, then that's wrong. See what I mean?
I know.
Yeah, but that's wrong.
But I know it's wrong. But the thing is, but that's what's going on.
But that's if I'm at this spot and I watch that movie, then I'm probably not good enough to uprise. That's called revolution, communism. But if I feel justified, if I'm paying $1, I should be getting $2. Then I should make an effort or move to some other boss who gives me $2.
No, you had a good point.
And that boss, if he's unfair, he will.
You got a good point. But the point of it is, this control by the bosses is like a monopoly in India. I mean, bosses work in cooperation with each other to make sure that none of them cut each other out.
Yeah.
And so what happens?
To some extent, but it's also wrong sometimes to criticize without knowing it.
Well,
in Malaysia, if you go there with long, the hippies and those some singers, they have long hair and etc. But they cannot go to Malaysia because it causes a lot of problems in over there.
Yeah, they don't want that image to be portended to their populace.
Yeah.
So the kids get ideas.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something.
And you can criticize it, but for them it causes a lot of problems.
Well, there is MTV in Asia. It's called Asian MTV. It comes out of Hong Kong. Anybody with a satellite dish can pick it up. I was picking it up in various cities in Singapore and so forth, and you'll see kids there with long hair and everything else. So if people are watching in Malaysia, I mean, TV is becoming such a time bomb. It's just totally just blowing cultures apart. I mean, literally in India, this past time we went, we saw farmers. We saw this eerie light glowing on inside a straw hut. It's a television glowing. You know how it glows. You're going down a road in a rickshaw. What is that light? And then you see people seated even outside trying to look and see. People are watching this show on TV. Farmers who probably have one person has enough money to buy one, and all of them come and watch.
Yeah, but it's local TV or it's...
Well, it's local TV, but there's also All India TV, and All India TV sometimes broadcasts movies too.
Sometimes, yeah.
They have movies, but they also have commercials. They have
Yeah.
commercials on it. They show Bombay
Yeah.
fashions. They show the Indian cars, the Tata, Tata. Anyway, okay, where were we?
Right. On November 16th, Baba came down the hill around 11 o'clock. It was Ekadashi, a Hindu day of fasting. So Baba asked who among the Hindu mandali was intending to fast. Since only Kaka Shahani was willing, Baba decided that he himself would fast for all. Baba had not eaten any food since the 14th. A discussion continued on their upcoming departure from Meherabad. Baba expressed that he was thinking of going to Bombay and Lanava.
That's on a Hill Street resort. I mean, a hill station.
Oh,
It's a hill station. It's a
Hill Street of
Not Hill Street Blues. It's a hill station that's wonderful. I mean, it's like 20 degrees temperature variance from Bombay. Bombay could be 100, could be only 8 up there.
So you're going up.
Yeah, you climb up to about 4,000 feet.
Wow.
It's a beautiful place.
Interesting.
Train.
You've been up there then?
Well, the train and the road from Bombay to Pune go right through Lanalva.
Oh, okay. So you can see it from.
Right. If you're driving by taxi or car, you'll go right through Lanalva.
That's interesting. Right. Lanalva. A discussion. Oh, here we are. Bob expressed that he was thinking of going to Bombay and Lanalva on November 25th and returning on December 4th. He remarked, I had been invited by Sadashiv Patel and Sailor to reside with the mandali near Shatur Singh in Pune. But once I leave Meherabad, I think I will go to Pune, Bombay, Lanava, and then on to Karachi. Baba then gave strange nicknames to some of the men mandali. Borabunda, an Indian port. Bunder, meaning monkey. Cylinder, of an engine or cylinder. Delindar, meaning hopeless. Grinder, plunder. And Sikandar, in honor of Alexander the Great. Wonder and others. He gave himself a new nickname, Samandar, which means the ocean or the sea. On November 17th, after coming down from the hill at 1:45, Baba stayed in Lower Meherabad near the table cabin. He overheard Pandova saying that there was nothing worthwhile in the world but God. Baba remarked, that is quite true. Worldly actions have no importance. To me, one who intensely longs for God, the importance of the world is less than the importance of a dream. Even a great poet like Shakespeare had not the slightest idea of even the shadow of real existence and God's bliss. He concluded, the original state of God is the sound sleep state, and to experience God one must experience this sound sleep while fully awake. In fact, this state is indescribable. A week passed as the mandali made arrangements to leave Meherabad. On November 24th, Baba casually mentioned a new plan. All the men and women mandali and the children can also accompany me if they're willing to stay with me. Regarding our return, nothing is definite. We will start for Lanava tomorrow, and after remaining there for some days, go on to Bombay. All were happy and readily agreed to accompany him. Every day, Baba had received many letters from people all over India, most of which had been preserved. But on this day, Baba ordered all correspondence received from his followers or outsiders to be destroyed. Despite the mandali's objections, the order was promptly carried out and several hundred letters were burned. Gopal Swami, who had moved from Meherabad unexpectedly, showed up to see the master. Baba was happy to see him and instructed him to continue observing silence. Although all were busy packing the next day, the usual tea was held at Shahani's house in the family quarters near Arangan. Shanji, Masaji, and Afsari went to the train station in advance with the luggage. Although precautions had been taken to keep this journey a secret, people in Ahmednagar came to know about it, and there was a huge crowd waiting on the station platform for Baba's darshan. Baba avoided the crowd by going directly to Lanava with the mandali in 2 large buses, deeply disappointing his devotees. It's a new chapter.
What's the chapter called?
Lanava in Bombay.
Great.
There's a picture of Baba in Ahmednagar, 1926. Meherabad in Ahmednagar.
Let me see.
That
Oh yeah, that's
been
a
around.
famous picture.
Yeah.
That's the one he's seated in the studio.
And you usually get it like that or
Yeah,
something.
you see the studio with the garland, and it's quite a popular picture.
Right.
Many people have seen that picture.
Right. Yeah, he would have been 32 that year. Looks like he's about 18,
Yeah. I'm interested in this Lanalva because
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I like to know what it says about where he stayed because
Right.
Person's name?
it's a city. It's a mountain
Yeah.
station. It's a mountain retreat. It's about 4 hours from Bombay,
Oh.
and it's beautiful.
Okay. There's somebody coming. You want to wait till the door opens before we...
That's Kathy, I think.
Okay. There were more than 20 men and women with Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Say Baba,
Jai
Kathy.
Baba.
How are you?
Big Baba.
Good. Among those accompanying him were Vimramji Baal Chima, Shahagan, Dake, Gulab Shah, Gustaji, Brother Jal, Mohan Shahini, Padri, Pendoba, Pindu, Sailor, Shankarnath, Sidhu, Vishnu, and Nidishra. Now there's a footnote here, Fred. What's that right there?
Oh yeah, you're supposed to go back to page 877. Read this right here.
Oh,
It says
okay.
Narish.
Oh, okay.
Narish.
Yeah, Nadishra was a Parsi from Poona who had been staying at Meherabad since 1925 and became a close disciple of Meher Baba's.
Oh, there's somebody I didn't know.
A Parsi.
Yeah, well, he had a lot of Parsi. Parsi is Zoroastrian.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
I just thought that was a language.
No,
It's-
no. Well, Parsi is the language they speak, but they're called Parsis, just like
Oh.
Spanish.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with that. Alrighty. The women were Dayulat, Rihera, Frini, Naja, Small Khorshid and Big Khorshid. Before leaving Meherabad, Baba instructed Rustam to come to Lanava once they were settled and bring the children. 2 miles from Lanava, in the village of Valban, Ramju and Ghani had hired a Bori Muslim's bungalow for Baba and the mandali. The arrangements were somehow not to Baba's liking, and he ordered everyone to leave immediately for Bombay. He himself, along with the women mandali, walked the distance to the railroad station, but Ramju and Chanji prevailed upon him to return. Excuse me. Chanji, Masaji, and Afsari arrived in the evening with the baggage, and the first thing Baba asked them was whether they had eaten on the way. Chanji and Masaji admitted they had, but Afsari hesitated and began speaking in an evasive manner. Baba caught him by the shirt and shook him fiercely. He then turned to Masaji and Chanji, demanding, "My instruction was not to eat anything outside of Meherabad on the way. Why did you not comply with it?" Masaji spoke in their defense, claiming, "Why is there an issue about Meherabad after leaving it?" Baba was furious and caught hold of him, shoving him so violently that he ripped his clothing.
Who was this? Who was he mad at?
Masaji.
Oh my.
Yeah. He then lifted him up and threw him 10 feet. The mandali standing nearby were astonished to see someone as lean and thin as Baba pick up and throw such a hefty man as Masaji.
My God. Masaji was big. A huge man.
That's what
And Baba picked him up and just threw him.
10 feet.
Oh my God. Baba was small, like 5 foot, what, 6 or 7?
That's,
5, 7? My, oh my!
Chanji was not spared Baba's wrath. He too received a few sound slaps. Baba then demanded that they all get out of his sight. After a while, he called them back and smilingly asked, "Have you gotten an idea of my strength today?" The three men burst out laughing. Then Baba lovingly inquired, "Are any of you hurt?" No one was hurt, but Chanji had been very frightened.
Wow.
That's a funny story.
Boy.
Because Baba was very particular about touching people. I don't know.
No, I know he was.
He's very particular about those, And the guys touched each other, too, There was some... Anyway, after Baba finished writing his book, he would travel with the manuscript, which he kept locked in a metal case. One of the mandali was in charge of the book and would have to carry the case wherever Baba went. Baba would keep the key to the lock on his person, tied on a string around his neck. He warned the mandali that they could not read the book, for their minds were not prepared for the material. So no one at that time had read anything extensively of what Baba had written.
You mean that secret book?
I'm taking that as one.
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. I heard.
Nobody, you know where it is.
No, you know what?
Nobody knows where it is.
It says that I heard it was in San Francisco.
You did?
No, I think they told me it's in Meherabad. Meherabad.
But
I was told.
everybody over there you ask, and no one knows. You ask people
You don't know.
in India, and they all say, we don't know where it is. Maybe somebody was told not to tell.
Yeah, of course.
And everybody has orders,
Right.
You know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me finish that sentence again. Right. He warned the mandali that they could not read the book, for their minds were not prepared for the material. So no one at that time had read anything extensively of what Baba had
You
written.
know, I have to interject here. Baba warned them not to read the book because their minds were not prepared for the material.
Right.
You know what it shows? That the minds of the world may not be prepared for a lot of information that you give from Baba. In regards
No doubt about that.
Because people in the world would basically, just.
Did I ever tell you what happened? You know Fred Brown is Supersonics?
Yeah.
Ever tell you what happened when he and I were roommates for about
No.
2 hours?
Maybe you did. I don't recall.
I had a copy of God Speaks. And so, we just traveled I think we flew from Seattle to Milwaukee or something. I can't remember when we went. And so Fred's over there, "Oh man, I'm so tired. What book are you reading?" And I said, "I'm reading God Speaks." He said, "Come on, what book are you really reading?" I said, "Do you want to see the name of it?" He said, "Yeah." So he grabs it, right? He didn't believe me. He got dressed and left.
Really? Wow.
Oh, God, I got to ask him that. When I talk
Many
to him
people
again.
can't. The Baba's too powerful. Baba's overwhelming. You tell people about Baba, they won't believe you. They think you're devil.
You can't tell them. I'm a firm believer that you can't tell people.
They told me religion place when I said, "Let me go." Hey, Kathy become atheist. Kathy become atheist.
They called you
They went to
atheist?
Baba. But therefore, Baba answered to me the other night. I asked you yesterday. Two people can be atheists. One is atheist. One is God resides. Therefore, I want to ask you. I want to mark the board.
Yeah, we'll do that.
I want you mark the board. Tell
Yeah,
them.
last time, remember we read a God-realized person is
Yeah.
like an atheist, a God-realized person is like a God-realized
Baba
person.
answers to me. I didn't know
A
what to
God-realized
say.
person is like a baby, a God-realized person is like an idiot, because he has no sense of he's,
World, in the world,
basically
Afghanistan.
he's detached. He's detached from the world, so,
Yeah.
Interesting. Right. Baba had once shown a few papers to Ali Kairani, who afterward could not recall what he had read, though it was written in different languages. Meanwhile, in Lanava, on November 26, Chanji, Baba's secretary and record keeper, was typing discourses. Observing him, Baba remarked, "You find these discourses of mine very interesting, but they are nothing compared to what I've written in my book at Meherabad. Its 300 pages cover only short points, and when they are fully amplified and rewritten, the points will comprise several large volumes."
So in other words, the book had only 300 pages?
Well, there's one more. It is full of secrets which no previous saint, prophet, or avatar has ever divulged. That's the last one. Okay. Yeah, the book only had... All right, let me read the whole thing.
Only 300, small book.
No, oh.
Well, 300 is this.
Yeah. And
But
it
so
says,
it's not available to anybody, right?
No, it's hidden. Nobody knows what happened to it. It disappeared. And Baba said that when time is right, it would come out because it was too advanced for mankind, mind, to know what he's saying.
but you know what he's talking about here? See, this is the realm of linguistics and semantics. And its 300 pages cover only short points. And when they are fully amplified and rewritten,
They'll cover volumes, is what
the
it said.
points will comprise several large volumes. So somebody's going to get hold of that, and they're going to do some analysis, the way we've already seen done in some of the other books.
Right, well, Lord Mayer, in a way, is that.
Yeah.
Lord Mayer is 22 volumes. And I don't know what the manuscripts, you follow.
Right.
How many volumes you say have come out? 15, 16?
No, with Lord Mayer now, they have volumes 10 and 11 are now out. And so there's another 11 to go. Only half is finished.
Yeah, it is full of secrets which no previous saint, prophet, or avatar has ever divulged. That's most interesting. All right. On the morning of the 27th of November, the son of the bungalow's owner came with 3 of his friends and insisted on going toward the east side of the house where the women mandali were kept apart in seclusion. Pisu tried to stop the young fellows, but they would not listen. The men mandali gathered and explained the situation to them, but the intruders would not leave. The mandali surrounded them, barring their movement, and the gang started abusing them and calling the mandali cowards. According to Baba's instructions, the mandali were not allowed to raise a hand in violence, though they wanted to teach these young ruffians a lesson. But after another verbal confrontation, the young gang left, still grumbling and swearing at the mandali as they walked away. Baba had witnessed the scene from his room, and as soon as the gang left, he called the mandali outside for a game of marbles. After playing for some time, Baba remarked, "If you men, who are always with me and listen to my discourses, express anger at the bad manners and rude behavior of others, how can worldly people be blamed if they behave in the same way? They are ignorant, brothers. Let us forgive them because they did not know what they were doing. Despite their abuse and bad behavior, they will be benefited as they came within my bounds." Until then, the man's resentment had not subsided, but Baba's peaceful words produced the desired effect, and they soon calmed down. Later that day, several people arrived to see Baba. Abdur Rehman, Barso, Chowdhury, Jamara, and Syed Sahib came from Poona. A man named Waman Dani came from Ahmednagar, as well as Mother Sharif, who brought Sister Mani and brothers Ali Jr. and Behram. Babu Rao Sakawala wanted Baba to enjoy some music and showed up with a singer from Poona. The man was singing in the afternoon, and 2 sadhus arrived unexpectedly, whom Baba welcomed very lovingly. In the middle of the program, Baba stopped the singing and wrote out a long discourse. To believe in God and say that God exists is not hypocrisy, but to say I am God without the realization is absolute hypocrisy. All faith is based on intellect, and there can be no faith without intellectual conviction. Things beyond the intellect cannot be understood by or through the intellect, which is finite and limited. Before trying to grasp the beyond or trying to get an intellectual idea of it, one must first acknowledge that the state of the beyond is that it does absolutely exist. That is the first step before one can approach the infinite and boundless. For example, we do not know who or where God is, or whether he really exists or not. However, to understand or to have an idea of God and his works, as explained in religious books and by the wise, we must first take it for granted and believe that he is, that such a superior being as God does exist. With that beginning and trust in him, start in search of him. The people of the world, the masses, do not really believe in the existence of God. They merely fear God as some unknown mighty being who rewards the good and worthy and punishes the wicked. And it is this punishment of hell created by God that they fear more than God himself. For if they really believed in him, in his existence, and were afraid of him, their behavior would be quite different from what it is today: dishonest, selfish, deceitful, and wicked. If they really felt afraid of God, they would be ever alert not to do anything that would displease him, or that he would not like. If they really trusted in God and believed in his existence, they would at once begin looking for him and would never rest until they found him. For when love for him comes, fear of him vanishes. And when that love reaches its zenith, the lover finds that he himself is the beloved. No progress on this path is possible if a person is an atheist and does not believe in the existence of God. If all people were to follow atheism, there would not be any progress on the road to truth. But being inwardly a disbeliever and outwardly showing oneself to be a believer is the lowest form of hypocrisy. The belief that is gained through intellectual knowledge given by one who is realized is devoid of any hypocrisy. And such a belief is a help in advancing toward the goal. Did you get that?
Well, I got it.
There's some more over here. There's another picture here.
Yeah, Baba with his...
The group of disciples.
With a group of disciples and devotees of the Master Darshan in the 20s.
Right, sure, okay. So you want to
take it.
for it?
When he was talking that about the stuff was very young too, here this picture.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's like 32.
Mentioning what real yogis could do with their yogic powers, Meher Baba explained their source of power as electricity, or an electrical cosmic energy. There is electricity in the air, and it has 7 layers, one inside the other. The power that the yogis make use of comes from this unlimited source of cosmic energy in the air. I'm going to say that again. There is electricity in the air, and it has 7 layers, one inside the other. The power that the yogis make use of comes from this unlimited source of cosmic energy in the air. And they use the 3rd layer inside. In other words, the power that the yogis make use of comes from this unlimited source of cosmic energy in the air, from the 3rd layer inside.
Don't you hate it when you read one of those? You say, wait a minute.
That's amazing stuff.
It happens to me. I thought I was the only one.
They combine the limited source of energy in their own body with this unlimited cosmic source by means of breath. You ever see good yogis know how to breathe? They breathe.
Right.
They breathe, and they breathe in a certain way. that they through their breath they develop the power. And that's why there are some yogic practices of breath. Of course, you have to be really adept. But if you know how to breathe and control the breath in slow inhalation, slow exhalation, it's amazing how you just... The combination of these two powers enables the yogis to bring about whatever result they desire. That is, they combine the limited source of energy in their own body with this unlimited cosmic source by means of breath. The combination of these two powers enables the yogis to bring about whatever result they desire. The yogis have only to think after combining these two forces, limited and unlimited, and by certain yogic practices they achieve results such as raising the dead, reading others' minds, seeing things at a vast distance, and so forth. For example, if a yogi wishes to raise a dead body or see certain places in America while sitting here in India, by yogic practices he has only to combine the sources of energy within himself with that cosmic energy which is in the air. That done, the yogi has only to think of the particular desire he wishes to fulfill.
Wow. Read that, those last two in again.
For example, if a yogi wishes to raise a dead body or see certain places in America while sitting here in India, by yogic practices he has only to combine the sources of energy within himself with that cosmic energy which is in the air. That done, the yogi has only to think of the particular desire he wishes to fulfill.
That's amazing.
And yogi was in third layer, isn't it so?
Huh?
The yogi said was in third layer. 7 layers.
There's 7 layers, and the yogi uses the third layer of electricity.
Okay, that was third now. That was power. Wow, 7 layers.
It must be unbelievable, unbelievable. On the other hand, a Sadguru does not have to exert himself in breathing or by exercises as do the yogis, but only has to think as he wishes, and he achieves the result. What does it matter to the Sadguru if someone is dead or alive? To him both are equally false, as both are mere dreams, illusion. The world is as he wishes, which is not the case with yogis. To them, the conditions that exist are real, and have therefore to change from one thing to another as they desire. See, the yogi is trapped by his powers in the illusion, believing that he is transferring his powers and changing whatever the reality is. He believes it's real. That's why the yogi wants these powers to manifest this and that. But the Sadguru knows it's all false. Even what the yogi is doing is false. Even a person dying is false. Even a person who has life is false, because he knows it's all in Maya. So the yogi who's playing with those powers is caught in that illusion of having those powers. And I think it's a place to where some people who would be ignorant would give him high status. Some people who, if a person was able to manifest something out of thin air and give you this and that. Because I think one time that Satya Sai Baba, the one that's still alive in India, the one with the very much of the afro. The
young man.
Yeah, he probably is now in his 50s, probably by now, or older. But he had a big following from the West.
Yeah.
And they say he would manifest things just out of thin air, like money or gold coins or things, and everybody would be totally amazed by it. And I was once talking to we were in Goa, India, Gigi and I, in 1987, and vacationing before we went to Meherabad. And these people were on their way to a pilgrimage at Satya Sai Baba. They were Westerners. They were either from the States or Europe. I believe they were from California, though. And they were asking us what we were doing there. And we told them we were on our way to Meherabad, to see Meherabad. And they didn't even know who Meherabad was. So we described who Meherabad was. Well, they said, does your Meherabad manifest, miracles and this. And we said, well, we try to downplay it. But they were telling us how Satya Sai Baba does things for them, and people get high in his presence. They get feeling really high.
The Iranian people, they go from Iran, they told me the same thing.
Do they?
Yeah.
For Satya Sai Baba,
Same thing,
yeah. So, the world as he wishes, which is not the case with yogis, to them the conditions that exist are real and have therefore to change from one thing to another as they desire. And it is for these changes that yogis exert themselves in performing different sadhanas, meditations and exercises. Although the powers they attain are tremendous, they are after all only rays of the sun and not the sun itself, as is the Sadguru.
Whoa.
So they're just getting the rays. The Sadguru is the sun. On November 28th, while having tea on the veranda of the bungalow, Baba and the mandali were discussing the physical body. One man said, "Shaving gives me a headache. It is such a nuisance. The more you shave your whiskers, the more they grow. Instead of shaving them off, they should be plucked out. then they won't grow back."
Comes out too.
Like women, they pluck out women from the leg.
Yeah, but comes out too again.
Hearing this, Meher Baba commented about sanskaras. He said, "It is the same with sanskaras.
Oh my God.
Every thought, word, and action of a human being creates sanskaras.
Good or bad, yeah?
Good or bad.
Wow.
And all sanskaras are interplaying between opposites. Good thoughts, words, and deeds create good sanskaras, and bad ones create bad sanskaras. But sanskaras are always being created. They can never be stopped unless one is fortunate to have the grace of a Sadguru and become realized. Even the great yogis with their years of penances, even those who have reached the sixth plane, are unable to rid themselves of their sanskaric impressions. What they can do during meditation and samadhi is to stop the production and growth of new sanskaras. But what of the past store of sanskaras accumulated for years and ages? They remain with those saints even on the sixth plane. Even a great yogi of the fourth plane cannot destroy them with all his might and powers. They can only be destroyed by the grace of a God-realized master who destroys them by uprooting the mind and thus making a person realized. Wow, did you get that? Uprooting the mind, as though the mind is planted like a tree.
Yeah.
A tree, like they call the tree of knowledge, the mind.
Yeah.
So the master uproots the mind, and when he takes it out, realization.
There's a method for removing sanskaras in discourses. You ever tried it?
Well, it's probably quite a long process.
It's quite interesting. I tried it a couple times.
So you heard a story that some Baba's family or one of the, I don't know the name, somebody is working now in the Baba's tomb. They was coming by Baba in the tomb, and then that accident, and husband and wife died, and 10-year-old boy is alive. Did you hear the story?
No.
Oh, yeah, it was 2 years ago. They were coming by Baba, and then the father and mother was waiting there, but they're working like a nana, working there. They're Baba's disciple, I think. And they get close to Baba's house, they get accident. And both of them died.
Oh, God.
Now the boy is by lady that raised the baby. I don't know the boy. I forgot the name. Maybe she didn't know. And then the father and mother for the people who died, the young couple, they were very crazy. And Baba had darshan that day. Baba knew that they'd finished. And then the father and mother was crazy for the white people. As soon as they heard that story, and they was getting, kaput, crazy, and the Baba looked at them, just put his hand like that. And the father for the man who got killed 1 hour before, ago example, was killed, was laughing and talking completely Baba wiped out. That took root up then,
Oh, yeah. Well, the only thing is what I was saying, though.
Yeah.
Well, what I was saying, rooting out the mind is God realization. That is the ultimate. Baba may have affected their mental process
Yeah.
but he didn't totally give them God realization.
No. Just,
But that's what he said. Kennedy, why don't you sit by the fireplace?
yeah, that doesn't get more than that.
There's a
More
chair.
is that low, we cannot make more up.
I think that's as low as as high as it goes. I don't know. You could try to change if
Right.
it's under that, right there, that knob. If you turn.
Oh.
You saw me shaking my head.
Here.
Oh, okay. Why don't you sit there, Kennedy? 'Cause-
You just turned it up.
No, I'm saying,
It's an old
why don't you sit there and warm up? Because Kennedy, Kennedy's foot is
I
bad.
know, but I will ask you what happened.
It's bad. It's
now.
worse than last
The
week.
doctor, well,
It's swollen.
I know.
It's infected.
Oh my, that is tomorrow you bandage it.
no.
It's
No,
swollen?
it just swole like that.
Oh my God.
I got the 2 holes came in there.
Oh.
He had 2 holes like a bug, a bite, something.
Looked like something put their teeth.
And now he could have been a snake,
That's what I was thinking.
because you were up at Meherabad.
Oh my God.
It could have been a
A
snake.
little swollen, you think?
Yeah, and it could be poisonous, but your body may be somewhat semi-immune to it.
Right.
But it could be venom in you that you should describe to the doctor that it occurred. I mean, you noticed the situation right after you came back
Friday morning.
from Meherabad. I mean,
That's
from Meramount.
Yeah, I got up in the morning.
Because
like at 2 or 3 o'clock.
because he may have a certain thing for venom. Because Kennedy, I'm a little concerned, really.
I know, and what made it so bad is Dale called me and told me to go to the health food store because we're still working on poison oak. And I'm in the health food store and the thing starts hurting like crazy because I was planning to come to the meeting Saturday night. As soon as I get home, my pant leg is covered with blood.
No, I have a feeling, Kennedy, it could be a snake bite.
That's what it looks like.
And it's a snake bite, and the
That's
snake,
exactly
the snake could have been venomous.
Yeah.
But this time of the year, towards the fall,
Right.
their venom isn't as overpowering, and because you're such a big man, your constitution is fighting it off. But it's still,
It can weigh you down.
of course, it's poison. And
It's coming out. It's coming out of my leg.
well, it's poison, and the point of it is you have survived this length of time, and I think you're by that critical stage. But I'm not saying that, but venom could do damage.
That night that you gave me around home,
Yeah.
I went.
Venom.
I sweat.
Yeah. Well, venom. Well, no. It sounds like a really like the sweating and everything else. But see, venom could damage nerve endings though and stuff like that.
Right.
And so that's why I would say that.
Okay. And it looked just like if you saw the 2 holes spread, you swear it was a snake.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm
It's just
saying,
like a snake.
I'm saying it probably was a snake bite in
But
that brush.
how do you get up
we
on
were
that,
going
though?
through. We were going through that brush. That
but
brush.
don't you-
That brush.
Can they hit you that fast? Can they hit you?
Oh sure,
and be
sure.
gone?
Oh definitely.
Yeah, they did our check. Boom, like that.
We were going through
After
that.
2 days
we-
like that, yeah.
we walked through that brush on the way to plant the tree where Shireen planted that tree.
Well, I was up there anyway by the pool and all
Yeah,
that stuff. Okay.
But anyway, I really.
Yeah,
Only you have
I'm
to
gonna go
put
tomorrow.
bitter stuff. You know, what is against the when the poison has to be poison put in. I know how to make it. You know that tree leaves. What is that?
Bark, quinine, bark.
No, the other one.
Pumas.
No, that you collect the other one. You cut inside this very slimy stuff inside. Indian people they eat it with a spoon inside. Or use the leaves like that. In the Indians a lot. In the Baba's place is a lot too.
The palm leaf?
No, I remember that. Okay.
But anyway,
The collard greens? No.
You know that?
Okra?
Bitter.
anyway, Baba continues. When such great
Aloe
yogis,
vera.
aloe vera, yeah.
I got some aloe vera.
Aloe vera, I make it for you. Tomorrow is gone. Aloe vera, put it, it's bitter aloe vera. Not sweet one, the 2 kinds I have.
I bought some Saturday. Dale sent me to get some Saturday.
Aloe vera, it's the best thing aloe
I
vera.
put it on the outside.
You see it,
I looked like a steak. I was marinated that bad boy.
you have to not put here and then band it and sleep in it until morning.
I'm going to try that tonight.
When such great yogis cannot manage to destroy their past and scars, what of you ordinary human beings? If you ask me, I would say, do nothing. And if you do anything, do it without caring about the result. Over the ages, you have collected a mixture of good and bad sanskaras, like the black and white hairs on one's head and beard. Yogis can erase sanskaras superficially, as done when shaving. In other words, they erase them, but they don't uproot them, they come back.
Right, you see?
But a Sadguru can root them out completely, and when they are plucked out permanently, advancement on the path is possible. So that shows you can't advance on the path unless your sanskaras are totally rooted, eradicated out.
But see, Baba wrote that method how to do that. It's in the discourses, Fred.
I don't think he said to root. I don't think he said to eradicate for you. I think are you kidding?
It's in the discourses.
Well, I've got to see that.
He talks about the removal of sanskaras. There's 3 chapters.
Well, it says all sanskaras must be eradicated in the mind so that they may not reproduce again. In other words, the mind is like a soil, and you have weeds, these wild weeds growing, the evil, bad sanskaras. Then you maybe have beautiful flowers growing, like the good flower, the roses sanskaras. So you have these weeds, and you have these roses.
And the weeds.
And the weeds may dominate you, but that's why weeds overrun a garden. The weeds grow like fire too.
Now you're seeing the analogy between the